All right, guys, my name is Andy Marsh. I'm a full-time photographer. Sometimes I tell people I'm a product photographer. Sometimes I choose portraiture. Regardless, I've been making imagery since 2005. And what I mean by that is I've been an art director. I've been a retoucher. I got my degree in graphic design in 2005. And so I've been working with pixels for a really long time. And today I just wanted to kind of share what I do and some of how I do it. I don't want to get too much into anything too niche. I just want to share and inspire. So let's just get into it. And if you guys want, you can pull up my website really quick, just to give you some reference of what I'm talking about. And it's pretty updated, so you can see things that I shot 2 weeks ago. And it's just marsh-studio.com. It's also on the left side of the screen there, so you guys can pull it up at any time. This is just a collage of some things that I've done. Some paid, some not paid, lots of passion projects, you guys. You know, it's something that I've learned the past few years is, and I think most of us are hobbyists here, but the rule here is, you know, clients aren't going to hire you to do something until you have a portfolio full of it. And to get that, you have to put the time and effort in and discipline on your own, right? So I'm looking at the screen here right now, and actually only two of these photos were even a gig for me. The car, the BMW, was for fun. The boots are for fun. A friend of mine had a company. The portrait at the top left was for fun. You know, we're just chasing light. We're chasing light. We're finding the light, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit. But you can sort of see my style. It's a little dark. It's a little moody. It's a little luxe. You know, I kind of call it Batman light. You know, the Batman suit always have that top-down light on it. I've always been drawn to that. So lean into whatever you're drawn to. I was born and raised in Orange County, and I went to Cal State University of Fullerton, and I got my graphic design degree. I had no idea from 2001 when I started going to school that, you know, oh geez, almost 20 years later, that I was going to be a full-time photographer. But luckily, studying design and all the dynamics that come with that, they play directly into what you do when you look through a screen. You know, when you're looking through your viewfinder, everything just correlates straight across from graphic hierarchy, shapes. You know, you're shooting and you find a triangle, symmetry. And so I studied for 5 years, and I got a full-time gig straight out of school. 2 weeks out of school, I started working for a startup agency. And this is in Orange County. And we were working for Red Bull, Fox Racing, a lot of companies with the word racing at the end of their name, helmet companies, you name it. We did stuff with Saatchi and Saatchi in LA, some really big agency work. We worked with Toyota, lots of great experience. I was there for 5 years, 5.5 years. And that's really where I cut my teeth and learned Photoshop. It's where I learned how to composites and imagery. I shot video, stills, just had to figure everything out. It was trial by fire, 100% trial by fire. So real world experience, and wear all the hats you can. Don't let fear hold you back. You gotta just move forward. Fun fact, this shot right here, the guy in the moto suit, that's me. Okay, so we show up to this photo shoot for Fox Racing, and we show up, and I'm the art director for the job. And I wasn't shooting yet. This was early in my career. And they said, hey, you want to throw the gear on? I said, what do you mean? I'm the art director, man. And they said, yeah, but we don't have a talent today. We don't have a model to wear the gear that you have to shoot. So you fit the gear. So I put all the gear on, helmet, gloves, everything. And we shot it, you know? Like I said, wear all the hats you can, or helmet, whatever. So we shot that paint, the dripping paint, we shot that in a garage. garage, my friend's garage, and photoshopped it. The one in the middle, I shot that entire piece and composited everything. This is probably 2007. And we were working with a 7D Mark I, I think it was, when it first came out. It might have been a 5D Mark I, but I'm pretty sure it was a 7D. And that technique of shooting product that way, all you do is shoot every single piece from the exact same angle. And then when you put it down and lay it in the right perspective, it looks like it's exploding. So we would do kind of these fun tricks with product photography. And, you know, we would call it the kitchen sink because the client would always want everything in it. We'd have this beautiful layout, tons of room to breathe, everything looked great, and they would add 100 more things. So when the client wants to add the kitchen sink, you figure out how to organize it all. And that was a great lesson in being able to lay graphics out and lay product out, and 10 bullets of copy and all the products on the page goes over the headline. There's not even enough space to show what we're showing, right? This is before Instagram. There's no social media yet. This is just print only, and it goes to the web. So this is right before Instagram came out, which is wild to even say. It's weird to think of a world without Instagram and social media, right? Everybody makes their living that way, or a lot of people do. I don't. I've got like 400 followers or something. I don't lean on social media, but and then the Ducati on the left, that was shot by a guy named Ari Michelson. If you look up Ari Michelson, I should have had the link up here. If you look up Ari, A-R-I, Michelson, Ari Michelson has shot everybody. We're talking Lady Gaga, we're talking Black Eyed Peas, Meatloaf, GQ covers, Sports Illustrated covers. This was early in his career, so we would work with him to shoot random things, and he would come through every time. That photo has a lot of editing in it, right? We shot that in broad daylight, one strobe overhead. It was in an alleyway, but we photoshopped it. That client would usually let us keep everything pretty clean. We had a lot of direction that we could choose on our own. Well, I guess it's the same client, but that actual ad, we had a lot of space to just kind of say one thing really simple. And I think that's kind of when I realized I was more attracted to things that were bold and simple, rather than cluttered, rather than the kitchen sink, As artists, if you have a camera and you're shooting, you're an artist, even if you don't feel like you are, we really are. It's our tool to be creative. It's an outlet for us, and it's an important tool. Let's see what's next. Oh, Foxhead. So if we go here, I'm modeling for these guys, I'm art directing, and then a couple of years later, I'm working in-house for Foxhead. They're in Irvine, California. They're the biggest motocross company, helmet, gloves, jerseys, pants, and boots, right? They have other categories too, but that's their main thing. They're the biggest motocross company on the planet. And so I was offered an art director gig in-house, and I thought, well, that's a great next step in my career. Let's do that. This is about 6 years in to working at the other agency. I had a good amount of experience, lots of hours. We were probably putting in 50, 60 hours a week, 9 to 9 sort of thing. So I get over to Foxhead, and I'm the art director over 3 categories. I'd never done that before. They said, hey, do you want to be art director over footwear? I should have put an eyewear piece in here. Footwear, eyewear, and training. And so I would come up with the concept. I would have meetings with Pete Fox, who's the son of the owner. He's not young by any means. I think he's probably late 40s now. And so I got into this world of working with athletes and being able to come up with a concept to pitch first internally. And then I would take that concept after it was approved and I would produce. There were other people involved in the team, obviously, that made everything come together, with production and athlete management, finding the space, getting the gear together, category managers. But what would happen is I would come up with the concept, we'd pitch, we'd get it approved. We'd fly to Rusty Malinowski's training studio in Florida, the guy on the right, who's an incredible wakeboarder. I mean, this guy can launch 30 feet in the air. Look up Rusty Malinowski, he's wild. And so I'd go out there and art direct. I wasn't shooting yet. I had been around cameras and I had shot a little, but by no means was I a photographer full-time at all. I was full-time art director, and we'd go out, we would session. I'd get to work with these great photographers. I'd make sure that we were getting the look that I had pitched originally, so that when we get back to the studio, we'd get back to our 9 to 5, I'd have these raw files and I'd have to put together catalogs. Oh, look, there you go, spring 14, right there on the active book. So I'd have to edit. I think I would make selects too. At a place like that, you can make the selects, but the higher ups sort of have your back as well. They'll help you make the selects, and you know, sometimes the upper management wanted a different look, so they'd pick a different photo. But then I would lay the catalog out. I was doing 13 catalogs a year. I was doing more than one a month. And these catalogs were anywhere from like 40 to 80 pages. And this is concept to execution to print. I'm talking pitch, concept, go out there, get the files, come back, edit, layout. I'm designing the headline, the folio, the numbers, right? The page numbers. Sometimes I was writing the copy. But really my experience here is working with athletes, learning how to run and gun. When you get on set, and even as like amateur photographers, which sounds weird to me, we're just photographers. It doesn't matter where you are in a career or a hobby. If you shoot, you shoot. It doesn't matter where we're at. Black belt, white belt, we're all in it, right? So when we're shooting, we come back, we edit, and then we lay these books out, and then you ship. And then I go to press checks and check the color, right? We're like full spectrum experience. It's wild. So I did that for about 2 years, full time, every single day. And after 2 years, I was kind of tapped out. I needed more. I wanted more. I've just driven, and I felt like I had learned the process of that type of art direction and how to get images and edit and retouch. And I thought, hey, I'd love to do more here, but there wasn't room for me there to grow. So I left. And it's wild how life works out, right? So Thanksgiving weekend, I don't know what year it was, but it was 2 years after, maybe 2016 or 15, or it might have been 14. That might have been the last year. I think so, actually. But so I get an email from someone that I've never met, and they say, hey, we saw your work. I still don't know how they found me. I never asked. And they said, hey, we have 100 web banners we need designed. Are you available? And it was right after I had asked my boss for a raise. And I wasn't just chasing the money, I was chasing the title bump. I wanted to be senior art director, you know, something a little more extravagant. And that way you can move laterally, you know, you move up vertically where you're at, and then when you leave, you go lateral. So this guy hits me up. I say yes. I quit on a Monday. I've got 3 months. I figured, hey, I've got just enough money to live for 3 months, and then I have $0. So let's do these web banners and make it work. And I did. I knocked them out, and I think I knocked them out in 3 weeks and moved on to the next freelance project. I was full-time freelance all of a sudden, right? I had a gig for 5, 6, 7 years straight out of school, you know, paycheck every month. And then all of a sudden, it was all up to me, and I had to figure out how to make my own money. And having that first gig gave me 3 months, and I figured we could do anything in 3 months, you know. So let's figure it out, and I did. You know, luckily enough, I did. I had the skill set. I had put in so many hours already to everything, like everything I just explained, from concept to execution to press checks. So I knew I could handle whatever was coming at me. On another note, I would take all the assets we made at Fox, and I would take those assets and transition them into web banners. So I knew how to do what the client wanted. I knocked those out, and I got another gig. I knocked that gig out, and 6 months, I think about 6 months into my freelance, career, a brand named Salt Optics came to me and said, hey, can you shoot our entire product line? It's takes a couple weeks, it's twice a year, and I think it was probably, let's just say like 50 sunglasses and prescription. And the thing is, they had, maybe for one sunglass or frame, we had about 3 or 4 angles that we had to do. And so, you know, I'm delivering a couple hundred images every season, right? So I don't own a camera at this point. I own 0 gear. I own 0 lighting. I have an iMac, which I think I still have in the garage. I have an iMac and a skill set. And I go online to B&H Photo. You guys probably know B&H. And right, everybody's, yeah. And I go on to B&H. I find a camera, 5D Mark III. I found Paul Buff lighting gear, which is like the cheapest studio strobe you can buy. And I found the total, and I go to my meeting and I said, here's the deposit that I need. And they signed it, they gave me a check. I went cash, you know, deposited it, went home, ordered my camera, ordered my one light, and that's how this photo came about. So we have to take chances, we have to take risks. I'm more calculated, I think, just because I can stress out a little bit. So I want to be a little more calculated, but I took a gig without even owning a camera. I knew I could do it. I had been around the gear before, but I didn't own any of it. So I bought the camera, started shooting, and this is like a third of one season. This is one angle, half a season, and it would take me 3 weeks just on my own. I worked by myself for years, you know. I just was in the studio, learning light, finding the light, and figuring it out. I moved to Utah pretty soon after. I rented a studio space. Guys, I've had a studio, can be anywhere. I had a studio in my basement, in my spare room. I had a real studio downtown here at Salt Lake. I had an even bigger 1,600 square foot studio that I got rid of in December. I'll probably mention that later. But the studio is wherever you are. And I think that's just a great reminder for find the light wherever you are. You don't need a studio strobe. The sun is the best 7-inch reflector strobe you can find. The sun has beautiful light, especially if you're hiding in some shade, right? The contrast, the values, the shadow play. Regardless, I had tons of experience shooting frames. And these aren't easy. These are really actually pretty technical. You know, the reflection on the sunglasses, how come you can't see my camera, right? Like, how did I shoot them like that? I should have pulled a raw. I should have pulled a raw to show you guys. But in each lens, there was a little tiny circle that you could see. I would set up my light, and all those reflections are real, right? I photoshopped for years, and kind of the last thing I wanted to do was Photoshop more. I was already doing so much work that I wanted to do the least amount of Photoshop possible. So these lenses, the reflections are real. And what you can't see is that there's a little circle in the frame, and the size, I don't know, maybe 1/4 inch on the screen, right? And I would just Photoshop it out, like real small. So I perfected the eyewear, and I see images like this all the time now. You know, I like to believe that I helped define e-commerce photography for eyewear. And I think it's true. We were doing this stuff back in 2015, you know, and I had an amazing team over there at Salt that would push me, that weren't okay with average. We were just trying to pursue perfection with their eyewear. These glasses, like that frame is $600, right? It's handmade in Japan. It's acetate. It's the best stainless steel hinges you can get. So this is activation from the image that I made. They would take the frame that I did, they would pair it with a beautiful landscape that they either sourced from a photographer. I think a lot of times it was more budget conscious for them to find something that was already shot. So some of these are stock photos, right? But that's sort of the deliverable, my eyewear, a landscape, they'd make this ad, and this is their entire ad. How beautiful, really simple, it's bold. Again, less is always more, and it's really impactful. They match the purples. I bet that lavender field looked a little bit different. They tweaked it in post. And then, you know, to be honest, I don't really consider myself a commercial photographer. Commercial photography is exactly what it sounds like, right? You're working with really big, like Sam Adams, you're shooting a beer campaign. Well, I've never done that, but I have done a lot of e-commerce, and I've shot product for 8 years, right? So I guess we can use that term a little bit lightly, but for the lack of a different term, it's commercial photography. We're creating top-notch advertising imagery for brands to use in their marketing. My entire goal is to make a piece of eyewear that's $600 look like $1,000, right? Because I know from marketing that if you think it's 500 and you go on and it's actually less than it is, you think, well, that must be $1,000. And you go find it on their website at 600, you're gonna buy it, right? And I want a job security, so I'm trying to help brands sell. So I would zoom in 1,000%, literally in Photoshop, 1,000%, and clean dust off of everything. I would make sure the temples in the center of this purple frame, look how dead center those temples are. I mean, we would go crazy. I mean, that would take 15 minutes just to get those lined up, you know, and it's all in camera. So we took the time, we just took the time to make it as perfect as possible. And that really transitions over to me getting new clientele. This is for Black Diamond. They're just down the street, actually. I still shoot for these guys. If you go on to blackdiamondequipment.com, essentially every photo on there I've shot now. We shoot hundreds of pieces every season, sometimes every other week. And this is a great shot of activation of a shot that I did in the studio. So I was shooting a Canon 5DS, and this is, I don't know, I think it's 14 feet wide. So 50 megapixel. And this is an outdoor retailer convention when it was still in Salt Lake a couple of years ago. And one of their people just sent this to me a while back, and I thought it'd be cool to show. It's always fun to see your work in print, you know? So, you know, we do the client work, but where are we outside of that? Because that can't define everything for us. I actually found myself feeling pretty empty after a few years. 2 years ago, I thought, man, what am I really doing? Right? I'm shooting images on white. How fulfilling is shooting a photo on white for 8 years? It's not very fulfilling. And that's okay. We can get into something new and then master it. And it's all about the practice, right? And that's why I'm saying, what is our creative pursuit? Because everybody here has a different idea of what that is, you know? And when I was talking to Shirley at the gallery, there's different examples of that, right? And even the speakers that you've had before, everybody has a different niche. So I like to keep my mantra, what is your practice? What are you practicing every day? Because whatever you practice every day, you're going to get good at. So I've been studying light, studio lights, strobe lights. I wonder if I have them down here. Strobe lights, what's that? Right here. This is a Pro Photo B10 Plus fully mobile studio light. It's 500 watts. And I took this on to a back alley on Friday night for a streetwear brand. They're a soccer streetwear brand. And we're shooting, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. And we look over, and a yellow El Camino rolls up. And I have to wait a minute. Who is that? Like, what is this El Camino doing here? And they're like, oh man, Marsh, look at that El Camino. And I run over, I talk to the girl, and I said, hey, they're in the middle of doing a photo shoot, right? Because the location was kind of cool. It's a back alley, tons of graffiti, power lines, all this stuff. And we had scouted already, so we knew where we were. And I go up to the girl and I say, hey, can we use your El Camino for like 30 minutes? You know, I'll take a photo of you and I'll send it to you. And she said, yeah, go ahead, that's fine. So we pull the El Camino up. We get it, actually, they had it parked already. It was in the perfect spot. And I roll around, I brought my gear, one light, this light right here. I have an assistant that's helping me. I already explained what type of light I wanted to do. I could pre-visualize, right? I've been shooting studio light for 8 years on my own now. And luckily I have an amazing group of friends that help as well, you know, whether it's inspiration or technical. And we know the light that I want. I've been wanting to shoot this photo for a long time. So we have a BYU soccer player, and I say, hey, can you turn the lights on real quick? Because a car without the lights on is just a cold, dead machine. As soon as you turn the lights on, it's alive. And we have the soccer player sit up on the hood, and we pop, and there's our shot. One studio light is about 8:30, and the sun's going down pretty late now, right? I think sunset's at 9:03 or something today. So, and then I take this into Lightroom, and I tweak it a little bit. I pull the sky down just a little bit. I make sure her skin tones look good. I'm not sharpening. I don't like sharpening. We just keep it as raw as possible. There isn't even that much color push. This is essentially straight out of camera. And so one studio light, all the inspiration in the world. This is non-paid, you guys. This is just Friday night. Let's go make something and let's go create with our friends. And so when someone asks, oh, what's your favorite photo you've ever taken? I'm always really excited when I can say the last photo I took, you know, because that means we're really progressing. We're pushing, we're going forward, trying new things. This was a light modifier that I've never used before, but I knew what it looked like because of reference and Pinterest. And, you know, I don't know if you guys are like this, but I look at lighting all the time. I look at imagery all the time, you know, stay inspired by finding photographers you love and feeds you love, Instagram people that you love, you know, let them inspire you, and then you go do your own thing. I'll pull reference for something like this, but not too much. I don't want to be influenced that much. I just want to be influenced just a little bit so that I can do my own thing and it feels like Marsh did it, you know? So that was for a brand called Kayenta, the pigeon on the front, street soccer pigeon, like that's the best thing I've ever heard of. Like, I love the logo. I love it. So what inspires you guys? You know, well, how are we being inspired? You know, it's our practice, but what's your circle? What's your friend group? Like, this meeting tonight's amazing. I love it. And that's why I said yes, Shirley, because it is all about inspiration and community, you know? I shot this in my living room like a month ago. And it was with the same light right here, this guy, with a softbox on it. And this girl's name is Jorgen. I think you can find her on Instagram, Air Jorgen. And she's a dancer. So Jorgen shows up and she says, hey, I'm a dancer. I said, oh, that's great. Let's get some movement. Let's get some movement in our photo, right? So she's moving and we're just playing and it's back and forth and I'm moving the light and I'm tweaking. This is probably 2 hours into our session. I could shoot, I mean, I've shot for 6 hours straight before, just for fun. The mechanical stuff, the e-commerce stuff, that's a 9 to 5, so I'm shooting 8 hours. But the passion project things, for Kayenta, we shot for 3 hours, 4 hours straight, and then we edited till 3:30 in the morning. With Jorgen, we shot for about 3 hours. And again, we're just finding the light. I had some reference, but I really didn't know what I was going to do until I'm moving the light around. What looks good? You know, I don't know what kind of model or how much experience she has. I don't even know what the dress looks like. The dress was from someone from Europe. They shipped it to a stylist that I know and said, hey, if you want to take some photos of this, I'll ship it out to you. So she shipped her this dress, and then the stylist called me and we shot it. And so I think I shot about 500 photos that day, which is a little excessive, but it just looks so good. I could shoot, I could shoot Jordan for hours. So just thinking about inspiration and staying motivated on your own. It's really important to stay practiced. I can't emphasize enough that if we want to, if we are passionate about making imagery that impacts people, we have to put the time in. And part of that's vocabulary, right? Like I said, I bought this, it weighs like 10 pounds. I bought this medium format film camera last week, but 3 weeks ago, I knew nothing about these things. So I had to look it up and find out what everything meant before I could really dig into it. When you talk about lighting, when you talk about lenses, I think Shirley and I, we were talking about lenses at the gallery. I said, how wide of a lens is that? And you're like, oh, how do you know that? Right? It's all vocabulary. So, and I play guitar as well. So it sort of translates across for that as well for me. You know, we can study the technical, we can study the mechanical, we can practice, but after we learn how to light, like this, that's technical. After we learn how to light like this with that different modifier, that's technical too. So after we learn these tools, then we get into, all right, now we've got some vocabulary. Essentially, we're like 5 years old, right? Now, what are we going to say? Right? And so what are we going to say? This is his name is Royce O'Neal. He is a basketball player for the Utah Jazz. I was at a friend's house last summer, and Royce was there hanging out. They're friends. And he had a necklace on, and it looked really cool in the light. And my friend said, hey, go shoot Royce's necklace. And I thought, I'm not going to go ask him. No way. Like, the guy's a professional basketball player. I'm not going to go fan out, you know? So we asked him, and he said, yeah, of course. And we took this photo, and it's iconic to me. I love it. I love it in the square format. I saw him yesterday and showed him the shot, and he loves it. So we have the vocabulary, we have the technical skill set, and then we get to go out. I had him for 3 minutes. You know, we're not spending a lot of time. So all the preparation isn't during the photo shoot. All the preparation is way beforehand. It's like my experience at Fox and my experience freelancing and getting clientele, my experience failing, taking photos that weren't exactly how I wanted them, all to come together for a 3-minute session with an NBA player. There's a few more photos of Royce, and those are on my site actually, if you guys are on there on marshstudio.com, but you can see the other shots of Royce on there. And again, it's 3 minutes. So going back to our creative voice and what are we saying? You know, I like to keep things simple. I like to try to have impact, but sometimes things get a little cluttered. And when they, right? And when they do, we go back to the graphic design experience. How do we put things in a grid? And how do we lay them out to feel elegant? Because there's a lot of things going on here, but the impact feels very singular, right? The visual impact is very focused on Hannah. And she's a professional model. We only took a couple hours to shoot this. There's a ton of different options that we have. But keeping things gridded out, we had a couple different options, one without the parachute, one with the parachute. It took a minute to figure out where the bike should go. The same stylist that was on this was on that shot with the car, the Kaye brand, Lindsay. Lindsay True Dunlap, if you want to find her on Instagram. And so, you know, we're shooting Hannah. I put this camera right here, the GFX, the digital medium format camera. I put it on a 12-foot boom, right? So I connected it to the boom arm like this, and then I raised it up to the ceiling of my studio, which was 13 feet. I had a 35mm lens on it, and there's absolutely zero Photoshop in this shot. This is all straight out of camera. The only thing I did to this photo was push the color a little bit, just to make it feel saturated, you know, to have a visual impact. I love contrast. And so I'm always pushing contrast in Lightroom. I would think most people that are shooting, especially here today, probably use Lightroom to edit. I push my contrast to 60, 80, sometimes I go 100. And that's gonna kind of change depending on the camera you have. There's so much latitude with this digital camera that I can push to 60 and it's just beautiful. I love the shadows to fall to black. I'm not worried about losing detail, you know? It's not always about dynamic range, people. We don't need to see everything. You know, it goes back to what are we saying? And we shot this for a sound company. They make these speaker boxes here called Soundbox. And I had one light in the top left corner by the dirt bike, on a softbox. And then the only other light that's in here is right above the black speaker because the logo wasn't popping. So I was like, oh man, I can't, I get away with one light as much as possible because I was lighting products that had 5 lights. And so when I do passion projects, I just want it simple. I want it to be fun. I want it to be a session. I want to enjoy it. And usually I can get away with one light, like that shot of the El Camino. So we added a light to hit the Soundbox logo and it just lit it up. And the way I knew how to do that, angle of incidence. You guys know what angle of incidence is? So whatever direction that light is coming in at, light will reflect that. So same with your lens, right? If your lens is pointed down this way and you have a mirror here, then the light needs to be like this if you want to catch it. So, well, I'm shooting pretty much top down and I want this logo to pop. So I put a light as close as I could. It's probably like a 1/4 inch out of frame. And that's coming down this way. The camera's like this, angle of incidence, first click, the logo pops, let's go. So staying inspired, passion projects all the time, stay late, put in the hours, you will never regret it. I want to get lost in what I do. You know, I shoot photography for a living, but it's also my passion. So I've learned to get lost in the trial and error, the exploration of light. I always say find the light, and it really is true. I think I was texting a friend earlier and I said I was a light hunter. I was just trying to find the coolest, for me, the coolest light, you know? Something that looks like Batman. And you can see that most of the stuff I'm doing, it's crunchy, it's contrast. I mean, that's Batman light right there. You know, that's the bat suit. Go look it up, it's the bat suit. And then we get lucky, right? Because I got my top down light, but then Jorgen is so fluid and she's moving so well and she puts her head up and I just say, hey, move just a little bit this way. And then we get our triangle. We get our Rembrandt light, you know? So technical, inspire, get lost in it. We get lucky sometimes. It's like calculated luck. I mean, it's not really luck that we got this shot, but sometimes you get that Rembrandt light and the movement, everything just comes together to this crossroads of being inspired. I mean, honestly, I'm getting chills. It's the passion and technique and your own time and schooling that you put into it to accumulate to get a shot like this of Jorgen, which for me is one of the most impactful things I've shot in the past 12 months. Creative voice, Hannah, getting lost. This is Camille. Camille I met shooting e-commerce. I've shot so many photos of Camille on white that she said, "Hey, Marsh, you want to do a shoot in the studio?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not good at using gels. So let's use gels because I've never used gels before. I don't understand how to use them. I tried it before. The photos came out horrible, which I didn't want to show you guys those because they didn't look good. They look like trash. You know, I totally missed the mark, but I got the experience, and that's where the value is." So I set up a white. This is a white seamless. It's a 12-foot white seamless. So it sweeps up like this, boom, to the top. I've got V flats on both sides of her. And a V flat is a piece of cardboard, foam board. It's white on one side and black on the other side. You can use the white to bounce light in or fill, or if you use the dark side, you can flag it or subtract light. Well, in this one, I think I forgot a light. I didn't have all the modifiers I needed. And I knew I wanted to shoot Camille with color. So I took the V flats, I sandwiched them like this. So they're kind of like facing her, like on both sides. I used 2 of these lights here into the V flat, and they shot out. And I essentially made 2 8-foot strip boxes, right? So again, I didn't know that I was going to do that. I showed up to the studio with someone else that was really creative and would be willing to figure it out with me. I just wanted a session. I wanted to get my passion project in for the week. I mean, this is like a weekly thing, you know? So we get this shot. I don't know what click this was, but I swear to you, it was like the first 5 clicks. And it was the first time that I used a gel and it looked okay. You know, there's still some kind of weird things that are happening in here that I would probably change later. Like you can see a line on the bottom where the blue line is that goes to pink. I'd probably try to fix that. And we could have fixed that with a modifier, a real softbox, but I didn't have them, you know? It worked with what you got. I mean, it's just foam board. You can go to any art store. I know St. George has an art store where everybody else has an art store. Go get some foam board. Bounce your light in, or get a black foam board to subtract the light. You know, obviously we're playing off her blue kit, so I used a blue light, and then we contrasted that with pink. I think the gels were actually pink, not red. And I didn't even know Camille could move like this. You know, we're like looking at Flashdance here. It's like, Camille, what the heck? I've only shot you on white wearing a t-shirt just standing there like a mannequin. And then she throws down this crazy movement and we pop it just at the right time and we capture this and it still feels like it's moving, you know? That was actually the last photo shoot in my studio last year. And let's see what we got next. Oh, share. And I don't even know why I have this in here because I'm horrible at it. I'm not great at sharing. You'll look at my YouTube or my Instagram and there's really not much there, but it's something that I keep trying to tell myself, you know, share. We need to grow. It doesn't have, nothing's ever perfect. That's not a real thing. It needs to be authentic. Work on authenticity. Don't worry about making something perfect. If you're authentic and it moves you, it's going to move somebody else. And that's really where I think our voice should be as artists, as photographers. You know, whatever your platform is, lean into that. This was shot 10 days ago, and this guy's name is Andrew Rice. He's on Instagram. His handle is Purple Hat. He's what kind of, I don't know how to really explain his art. He does a lot of collage work right now. He was doing a lot of engravings and I think lithographs. I'm not really too keen on exactly what the printmaking processes are, but essentially he's a printmaker. He's right now he's focusing on a lot of collage work, and how he explained it was, I think, mass consumerism The collages that he's doing right now are from all these old comic books, and they're, yeah, super cool. And they're all real. So he's like cutting and pasting these things. He scans them, and then he prints the scan on his machine. He inks it and then rolls it. And so I met Andrew 3 years ago now, I think. And I was at an art gallery show, and I walked in and I saw this incredible engraving that's like 4 feet by 5 feet. And it really hit me. And Andrew Rice made it. And so it's actually hanging up in my living room. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. He used to do this thing with a spaceman where he would do these massive woodblock prints of a spaceman. And he was explaining how, the spaceman has a suit on, but he's trapped. He's built this world around him that he can't get out of. I equate that to Instagram or owning a car that I couldn't afford, like what kind of life are we living, and are we free enough to explore the art we want to explore? So I hit Andrew up a couple weeks ago. Well, actually hit him up a year ago, and before COVID, and said, hey man, let's shoot your portrait. I just want to explore light. I want to find the light with you. And then it took a year for us to get together. And I rolled over to his studio, which is in town here in Salt Lake City, and set up one light, of course, right? One light, super easy, real quick. And I said, oh, the yellow and red is pretty cool. And there's a yellow shovel over there. That's silly. Well, and there's a red chair. I'm like, okay, this is already set up for me. Where's the set designer? Let's go over here, sit in that chair. And every time I go to sit with somebody to shoot their portrait, I always talk to them for about a minute. And, if he's not a model, but he looks pretty relaxed, right? But there's a lot happening before we even get to that shot. First off, we had about 30 minutes before at a different location that didn't really turn out. I didn't really like how it came out. So I sit down with him and I talk to him for a minute and say, hey, I'm just here to lift you up, man. I don't want anything from you. I want to make you look amazing, And the only thing I want from you is to be authentic with me. I don't need you to give me an Instagram pose, like, you know what I mean? Like people are like, oh, the camera's on me. Let me change my entire attitude. And that's the hardest thing when you're shooting portraiture, especially someone that was a product photographer trying to shoot their friends' portraits. So I spent 8 years exploring light. I still am, but now I'm spending a lot of time talking to talent to try and get something authentic, like Annie Leibovitz would shoot. Like, how come Annie Leibovitz, every photo she has of people, you just see straight into their soul? It's because she doesn't want anything from them. She's just going to lift them up. And when you get the authentic version of anything, it's going to impact people. And so we shot a whole I shot film too, but we shot for about an hour and a half, maybe. And we got a couple great photos. And again, we got the Rembrandt light. Look at the triangle on the left side of the screen, and that's going to happen based on where your light is. You could take a flashlight, look in the mirror and take a flashlight, try it to find it. It's a classic look. I think it always comes across nice. Anybody under like 35, I'll raise the light a little bit higher. And I'm above that, so I wouldn't let anybody else put a light high up on me. But the higher the light, the more shadow under the bags, right? And we all have bags in our eyes, unless you're like 14 years old or something. So, I could get away with it a little bit with Andrew because I think we're the same age. I think he's like 39. But young enough, good enough skin we want people to look good, right? We're trying to, like, no pun intended, put them in the best light possible. And so he's sitting there, he's just kind of not sure what to do. His hands look funny. He's like not sure what to do with his hands. And I learned something on set from a model that turned into a friend of mine. And he said, whenever you're shooting somebody and their hands are in the photo, all you have to do is start with your pinky and you just do that. And then wherever your hand is, it's going to look amazing. So I said, hey, Andrew, just curl your hand from your pinky up and try to be relaxed when you do it. And look at his hand, it's perfect. He's never done this before. So, you know, we can find the light, we can find the talent, but are we lifting them up? Are we there to help them and get back to them? Is this like are we here to show our passion and share our friends, right? What are we doing here? Why are we here? What is our purpose and what's our motive? And to teach, hey Andrew, try this with your hand, man. You're gonna look a lot better. And I know it's a little awkward being in front of the camera, which is why I stay behind the camera, because I don't want to be in front of the camera. And then you get a shot like this. So I feel like everybody always wants to know about gear. And I'm kind of a gear nerd, but only because I'm passionate about the stuff I want to shoot. So I am interested in sensors and who makes the Fuji sensor, right? Sony makes this. Sony makes the sensor. And so I know it's going to be amazing. This sensor is the same one that's in a Hasselblad X1D2. It's the exact same sensor, except this camera's a lot cheaper because it's not a Hasselblad, right? So gear does and doesn't matter. People always say the best camera that you have is the one that's on you. I don't agree. You know, I mean, it's not true. You can take a photo with your phone, but you're going to be kind of bummed out, I think, when you go to edit it. You know, like if we're going to take the time to make a photograph, then let's make sure we have our gear on us. And if that means you have to carry your camera around, you carry your camera around. I've been in so many positions where I wish I had my camera because I left it at home. Even last night, right? I get back home, I'm at my girlfriend's house, and there's a rooftop. So I'm on the rooftop, and the Capitol building looks incredible. And I'm like, wait, why did I leave my camera at home? Like I just had it an hour ago, you know? So gear does matter to me. You know, like I said, I've got two medium format cameras here. I've got the best lighting gear you can have, but I didn't start there. And those photos came out great. You know, gear matters to the person. It's not an overall global thing. You know, if you got a Rebel T6i or you've got the best medium format digital you can buy, it doesn't really matter. It just matters how you're going to use it if you are practicing and if you are trying to go find the light. Because, you know, that Rebel, give me a Rebel T6i and I'll go take some photos with it, you know? And chances are they're going to look pretty great because I know how to use it. I'm not going to push the sensor too far. I'm not going to shoot too high of ISO, right? I'm going to like find the conditions that help the gear that I have. And it's going to put everything in your control, you know? Bring your tripod if you need to. Buy the nicer lens if you need to, you know? Use the tools that you need to take the imagery that you want to make. Everybody's kit is going to look totally different. And that's why the gear talk's irrelevant, sort of, because everybody's gear kit's going to be different, you know? I think I have I bought 3 film cameras last week. I've got a lot of gear now, but at the end of the day, it's because I do different things with them. I have a Canon kit that I use for e-commerce. I have a Fuji kit that I use for my art. Now I've got a Hasselblad film kit that I don't know what it's going to turn into, but it's going to probably be for portraiture, right? So use the tools that you need to take the imagery that you want to take. And it's going to differ for everybody. Do I think you need like the best lens that's made? No. You know, those things are so minuscule that I'd much rather see someone practicing over worrying about if they have an L series lens or not. Just go practice. You're going to figure it all out as you go. And by practicing, making it your practice to go out, you're going to find those things that you really need, you know? You're going to find the focal length that you need, that you like, I would almost say if you don't know what focal length you like, buy a zoom lens. I don't have any zoom, well, I have a zoom lens, but for the Fuji kit, they're all primes. I love primes. I don't want to use zooms. I only use zooms when I have to for e-commerce. So find the tools that work for you and lean into those, and you'll find what works. You'll find the focal lengths you like. Some people love 35. You know, Shirley, I don't know what you use for the photos you took, but some of them were kind of wide. You probably shoot 35 and 50, right? For some of the scenic things you do. I think some of them are fisheye, maybe.
Yeah, some of them were fisheye.
Was 8 mil? What?
See, I'm not a gear gal. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
See, that's awesome.
rounds, I look at the round.
Yeah. See.
I'm careful. I get my feet in it.
And right. But how did you know you needed a fisheye?
That fisheye lens was something my husband purchased years ago when he was first starting. And the guy who prints my stuff on metal said he could print in round. And we got talking one day, I don't know if it was over lunch or at the parking lot, where, oh, wow, we could make porthole pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Because that lens, you look inside of it and it's round.
Yeah.
And then it just went from there. I mean, it sat on the shelf for years, probably. Bruce could probably tell you how long he's had it.
Isn't that funny?
It sat there for years, and I dig it out still every once in a while. I was like, oh, I gotta go shoot this in the round, see what happens.
Shoot it in the round. I love it.
Yeah, I call it shooting in the round because you circle, and it slowed me down so that I can't crop.
Oh, right.
Camera, and I see a circle. So you work on your composition. It's crazy. It's just crazy. But it was something he purchased years ago when he first starting, and he didn't know what he was getting. And we didn't for years.
And you didn't know that thing even existed for you, right? You didn't know that you were going to take photos with it.
No. Yeah. And it's fun, and they turn out really cool in the round.
And they're unique, super unique. I mean, they pop off the wall.
Yes, they do. Yes,
and I know fisheye because I grew up skateboarding. So we use fisheye all the time because that's the lens you use to get the whole thing in.
Yeah.
You know, but it's interesting to see how, we're unaware of things that are right in front of us. And then as soon as we're ready to dive into something, it's there for us.
Oh, totally. That's my whole journey in photography was I want to do this now. And then Bruce would say, well, now you need this.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of gear.
Right?
We've got a lot of gear.
It's so fun. It's kind of like a video game. What's that?
You have. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh, I have that. Well, let me play with that. Let's see what I can do with that.
Yeah. But I feel like, guys, if you want to get better or progress, then you just have to start trying, because there's no way to get to that fisheye lens without getting into it first. Right. Like we don't know the answers until we start trying it. And I mean, I'm preaching to the choir right now, right? We have to go out, we have to experiment and see where we kind of nailed it or sort of missed the mark a little bit of what we wanted. And then we just keep refining. And that's really the secret sauce, is refining.
And it's the same with post-processing. We'll go on a hike or something, and I'll go and I'll post-process them. And then every once in a while, I was like, oh, I got some time to kill. I do the what if what does this do processing?
Yeah.
And I just start clicking stuff and trying different things, either in Lightroom, Photoshop, DxO software like Silver FX Pro, different things like that. What does this do? What would this look like? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, this is really cool. How did I get here?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, I don't really remember how I got here, but I like it.
You got there by the practice.
By the practice of just trying stuff.
Yeah. It's your mantra. Some people call it yoga.
Yeah.
What's your practice? My practice is photography.
Photography, and then just trying different things, knowing that you can always get back to the raw.
Yeah.
If it gets really mucked up, you can just go, oh, well, let's just get rid of all of this and let's just start back over here.
Yeah, maybe you have to reshoot. Well, that's great. Better to reshoot on your time than a client's time.
Right. And I don't know if any of us have clients like what you have.
Right.
But our clients are ourselves in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And
or the people that buy your prints. I mean,
or the
that's your
people in
client.
my case who buy the prints. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Let's see what else we got in this thing.
Wow.
That's all on camera, right? No Photoshop. Why Photoshop? Okay, so there's some things that I would change in this photo, but you know, it's a passion project. I can kind of get away with stuff that doesn't really matter. Like the stands right below the fenders. I wish the stands feet weren't there, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. Though the thing is, these guys are building a $250,000 off-road machine. And this is the first body they got back from the manufacturer. And I thought, man, it'd be really cool to just light it up like a stadium. I've been doing motocross races. Stadium lights look really cool. I also know that at F16, these lights are going to go to a star. So what if I just throw them up all on stands and just pop a frame? I put this on a tripod because I wanted it perfectly straight. And I wanted to be able to make changes with the lighting without having to worry about the camera height and everything else. So I locked the camera down on the tripod. I had everything set up, and I think I took about 3 to 4 photographs. This is one of those. We're seeing some of the silver on the front just from the bounce on the ground. You know, the concrete's sort of bright. It bounces some light back up, but really I just wanted to edge light the whole thing, which is what that's called. We're just going to do hard edge light around the whole thing. But look at the background. Look at that wire, the cable. Where is that? It's dead center. Look at the crack on the ground, the leading line. Look at the leading line from the very bottom in the dead center of the screen all the way up. Right? It's very intentional. Very intentional. So I think we spent about 30, 40 minutes maybe crafting this photo, and then took a couple frames and we were done. No Photoshop, all in camera. I get to go home and edit in Lightroom, and that's it. I'm happy, great, awesome, had a fun session. I don't have to open Photoshop or composite. I love it, you know, but that's just my practice. It's what I like. I'm trying to keep it light and fun. But look at the symmetry. Look at what's in your background. Look at how things are lined up. We're not trying to collect images on a sensor. We're trying to create art. And to do that, it takes time. So we need to make photographs. We don't take photographs, we make them. So find your leading lines. Where does that staircase go? How does that mountain shape around? What is that tree branch doing? You know, find those leading lines. It'll change your imagery. Let's see what else we got. Be bold. I feel like that's pretty bold. It's like simple, right? There's a lot going on in the background. Look at all the wires and cables and extension cords, but I lit it in a way that nothing else is going to show. I only want to show this thing in the stadium light, like the stadium lights. So be bold. This guy, we shot this in my buddy's living room a month ago. His name is G. He's a rapper and he's a model in New York. And he's a model in New York, but he lives in Canada. He showed up with some other friends at my friend's house, and we had an idea to set up a photo shoot. This is a pure white background. You'd be amazed how many shades from white to black you can get with a white seamless. I've shot on white seamlesses for a few years now with portraiture. And it all depends. This is one light. Again, one light. You know, same modifier. It's a same softbox. I use the same, I've been using the same softbox for years, probably 5 years. The shot of the El Camino is the first time I used a different modifier. I guess outside of the stadium shot, those were bare bolts, but I'm hanging with G. I don't know the guy. And I say, hey, G, I'm here to lift you up, man. I want to make you look amazing. You already look amazing. It won't be that hard. You look so cool, but I'm going to put some beautiful light on you. And I want nothing but your authentic self. Don't worry about anything else. Be vulnerable with me. Show me what you got, man. Let's hang right now. Let's session right now. and we shot for an hour. It's probably one of these are all my favorites for the past year that I'm showing you, but man, how iconic, how bold. And he's not even looking at the camera. It's like, I get chills thinking about this photo shoot because the stuff we got is so iconic, right? And this is just for fun. We're taking our toolkit, our experience, you know, maybe there's no leading lines, but this looks like a Levi's ad, and that's good enough for me, you know what I mean? Because where I want to go, I think I want to shoot more commercial type things. And this is the practice for that. So back to our mantra, man, what are we practicing? Because I've practiced this a lot and it shows now, right? Because the first couple of portraits I did did not look like this. When you spend your time shooting products, you're shooting footwear and glasses and things. It's different when you put it on someone's face, right? When you're shooting people, it's different. It's hard. The light is different. Everybody's shaped different. Skin tones are different, you know? So then you get to lean on your vocabulary. What are you saying? You get to lean on your technical skills. How do we do it? And you get to let the talent shine. I just love this photograph. And there's a handful. I think this one's on my website, but I should share some more on Instagram. And my Instagram's Andy Marsh Studio. I'll keep sharing there with you guys. But I think the rule is just practice every chance you get. I have a photo shoot in an hour, and I can't wait to get over there. We're gonna go shoot. We're gonna do another kind of car and person and tell a story about this guy, where he's living, and I'm gonna put that hot light on him. It's called a beauty dish. So we're gonna use a Profoto beauty dish. It's also called a soft lighter. And we're gonna throw that light on him. It kind of looks like the sun a little bit. It's just beautiful the way it renders shadows. But you get great at the things you practice. So practice whatever you want. Make it yours. Here's all of my information, website. You guys can email me anytime you want. I'll try to get back to you. Shirley knows I can be really quick, or I might be a week late, but I'll get back to you.
You were awesome on that.
And there's my Instagram. We just had a fun day yesterday at my friend's house. We had Royce O'Neal from the Jazz came by. We had a YouTuber come by that has a car collection that would blow your mind. I just posted some of that stuff today if you want to check it out. We had a Lamborghini Murcielago, a Liberty Walk, Aventador. We had a Bugatti, 1,000 horsepower Bugatti. We had a Rolls Royce Cullinan, one of one. It's incredible. So check that stuff out on my Instagram today, just to see what I'm talking about. But again, I shot Friday night. I got that shot of the El Camino. I am so hyped on it. I shot Sunday. I shot yesterday. I got a couple shots that I'm like sort of excited about. Some of them came out pretty good, but it wasn't really the space for me to direct a person. I didn't have my studio light. There was like 20 people there, you know, so I'm kind of picking and choosing times to shoot someone's portrait. You know, a lot of things have to kind of come together for that. I was on set 2 hours ago shooting film for a feature-length film as the behind-the-scenes photographer, and now I got to shoot in an hour with a friend of mine. So, you know, just shoot as much as you can. If it's your passion, stay in it. Just keep that mantra, what is your practice? And there's no better life that I know than creating. It brings me the most joy. Than anything else in that would be family. You know, it's family and being creative, and those things bring me joy. And that's really the reason why I'm shooting all this stuff, because I didn't really show you any client work. It's all for fun.
This is cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So if I left you guys with anything, hopefully it's to inspire you to get out and practice and just to enjoy the journey. Don't worry about the censor or the Instagram likes or any of that stuff. Do it for yourself. Do it for your own fulfillment. And like I said, reach out anytime. I want to build more community. I love the fact that I can connect with you guys across the planet, but also in St. George. So cool to connect Shirley months ago and then to see you guys today. So I don't know. I think if you guys want, we could do some questions and answers if you guys have any, and and just open it up there. But that's the presentation I have for you guys.
That was awesome. And the one thing I'm going to add is it doesn't matter what age you are, you can start creating.
Yeah.
And you can start improving. And that was one thing I know for myself many years ago when I was taken to a photo seminar. I now know what I want to retire to.
Ooh.
Because I didn't do it when I was working corporate America. And it's never ending. There's always something new to learn. And these guys that are on tonight know that themselves. And we have a lot of opportunities. And yeah, you've inspired me. I've been like taking notes on stuff to look up.
Yeah, I love it.
Other project thoughts and a couple other people I need to introduce you to so that you can spread your enthusiasm.
Yes, I'd love to. I mean, and this is the past week, right? These photo shoots. And so we went to Joshua Tree in Palm Springs last month, and I have a whole series of photographs from there. Maybe I can send you some prints, Shirley, and have them up in the gallery. But I've got landscapes, I've got I got Lamborghinis, I've got just so much stuff that I've been exploring the past couple of years. So
yeah, thanks so much. Hey, anybody got any questions? Unmute yourself and ask away. Sometimes we're a really quiet bunch.
That's okay. That's okay.
No, this was awesome. So thank you. You were a dart to the dartboard, like, oh, okay, let's try this and see what happens. And we hit, I think as far as I'm concerned, we hit a bullseye. So
I love it. I love it.
I'm seeing that in the chat too. People are very pleased. Thanks for organizing. Thanks for another informative session. Great presentation, bullseye indeed. So I'm going to stop the recording. So if people don't want to talk with the recording, they don't have to.